Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are checking out Dreamcatcher's Alone in the City album, and I am so excited because not only does this have two songs that you guys have been telling me about for a while now with Wonderland and July 7th, but both of those songs have a special clip. So we're getting two special clips, even though there's only going to be like 3 songs with like the intro as the 4th. Still super excited for this. I don't really know what this is all going to be in terms of like sonically, because they usually surprise me in some ways, especially since we're like in this weird transitional period, it feels like, as we're getting nearer and nearer to the end of like the nightmare arc of their story. But with the music video for What, it definitely feels like we're shifting a bit with the narrative, and it's becoming a little bit, I don't know, a little bit more on the kind of like cyberpunk feeling and getting more into this feeling of fighting back, and yet there's like this more internal darkness that's kind of being incorporated. I don't know, Wonderland definitely makes me feel like things are about to get a little bit crazy, because I've read Alice in Wonderland and boy is it a trip. So we're gonna get into the intro though and check that out first and get a little bit of a snippet of what the vibe of this album is gonna be. Look at this cover though, the like gems, this like bright pink. Again, it feels more like on the cyberpunk side of things to just like have those like intense colors. Their album art is always beautiful though. Also, this kind of looks like a road. Anyway. The clock makes me nervous, but it also sounds kind of like machinery. Ooh. Ooh, okay, interesting with the chimes, because it makes me kind of think of one like a clock, like a analog kind of like grandfather clock, where it literally chimes on the hour, which seems a little bit ominous because that's usually an indication of an end, but also a beginning. It also kind of makes me think with like, I was saying with kind of the machinery sounds, the chime, like that really high sound, like hitting a bell almost sounds like, I don't know if you've ever worked in like manufacturing or whatever, so it's like the hitting of something metallic. So it has this mixture of kind of like industrial sounds and kind of like clockwork, which is very intriguing to me, but also is kind of, it feels specifically tailored to me. Sonically, I really like industrial sounds, and I'm also like a huge nerd for like steampunk style stuff, so anything that has to do with clockwork just kind of makes my serotonin levels go up, so really intrigued so far. That really heavy percussion too. Ooh. See, the synths feel more sci-fi. I really like the guitars. Interesting. I feel like it is like this, I don't know, with the clocks and stuff, it feels like when we're having like the industrial sounds, which I feel like again shifts kind of the tone of this album away from some of the more kind of gothic imagery that we've had before, where we've even had like these strings, like orchestral feeling sounds to the earlier intros. So it has that more classical feeling, historical feeling to it. And then in this one, having those industrial sounds mixed in is very much pulling it forward in time, the way that the What MV did. So that's really cool. But then having the clockwork mixed in with that, kind of linking those two time periods together a little bit more. But it also has this feeling of like time slipping away, and yet in this one it feels less about like a clock ticking and more of like a clock chiming, like I said before. So it's like a time has come, right? Instead of it being like time is passing, it's a specific important time has happened now at this point, and we've kind of hit a critical point in the story. And all the like synths and stuff is very like the mixing of it is really like has a lot of motion to it from going like from right to left, which is really cool. It kind of like immerses you in a kind of sonic environment of it. Very interesting. Okay, here we go. Wonderland. I have been warned about this one. I don't fully remember why people think that this one specifically is going to come for me, but I remember for a long time, like way early on when I first started reacting to Dreamcatcher, and people were like, this song, just wait. So I'm a little bit scared, especially since it's a special clip. So I'm going to be getting the visuals and probably some choreo while also trying to take in the song, but we're going to do our best. I like the older vibes. Even the font is very, like, retro. Look at them. Ooh. Okay, no, this whole vibe. I don't know what I was expecting with Wonderland. Maybe something a little bit more off kilter, and we could still get there. But this like slow vibe to the whole song, and again that ticking in the back, that clock sound being pulled forward into this song too. It has this very like slow kind of like easy listening feeling to the production. And the way that they're kind of using this, I don't want to say like lazy voice because that sounds like I'm saying they're not putting in effort into what they're doing. It's very intentional, but they're incorporating like their false vocal cords, and it's creating almost this like vocal fry effect. And they're kind of dragging out sounds, so it adds to this kind of languid feeling to the whole song. Not what I was expecting. Oh, we're winding up though. Dummy. Back off. They all look lovely. Okay, rewinding is making it worse. Gio's hair here. Excellent. I love the like black outfits with like these little like lace detailing on them. I love how they all have these kind of vocal fry like onsets to their phrases, so they're kind of incorporating that vocal fry into the beginning of their phrase, and it's adding a little bit of like a cry to the way that they're singing. Also, the repetition of lines is interesting. It's hard for me to take it all in, like lyrics, production, vocals, visuals, which is why I usually do like I listen to the song and then I check out MVs. So the lyrics are kind of getting left behind for me a little bit, but I am noticing that there's like this repetition, which I wonder if that's going to be incorporated into like the theme of the song. I feel like they're about to start dancing. It's a little ominous. What is this song? I feel like I stopped functioning because what is this production? What is this like vocal effect that they have, that they're like switching between like these really light breathy vocals and then they're having like this distortion, like there's a layer on top of it that's distorting their vocals, which I think kind of fits with the like there's someone here like in the silence was one of the lyrics, I think. Yeah, someone here in the silence, which is very ominous, like this creeping kind of entity in this darkness that they're in. Also, the like hand details and the choreo, like it's a very subdued choreo like motions for this, but it works somehow because it has this like ominous thing in the darkness feeling. So if there was like this really explosive choreo, it just wouldn't fit with the vibe of the song. I'm a little bit flabbergasted. I'm sure that like I just looked shocked, confused, I'm delighted at the same time, but mostly in shock. Oh, the bass. Oh, I love the melody there of like her going up, and like Shannon in general in this song has had like really interesting melodies that are just like a little bit off kilter, and they add that like unease to the sound overall. I don't even want to talk about Gahi in there. Calm down, man. Cute. The little cat noise in it too, but also I need Sua to just like back up, you know, just give me some space. Interesting with the whole like pinch your cheeks like real kind of thing, like you know how you like pinch someone to like see if like something's actually happening, if you're in a dream or not, which fits with this whole being stuck in this like different layers of dream and like trying to wake up or get out of the cycle and stuff, which I think is really interesting to have like Wonderland, because Wonderland is this like odd place that Alice is kind of wandering through, and there's not real like logic to it, and she's very aware that she's in this strange place and she's trying to get out of it. So I think that that's interesting, that it isn't like being trapped in a dream where you're not aware that it's a dream. Like it's very much being aware that they're in this place that they shouldn't be in, and they can see the illogical way that it works, right? Like, you know, like dream logic doesn't make any sense in reality, so they can see like the cracks in the fact that this isn't actually real, but they can't easily get out of it. And then the idea of like pinching your cheeks is like a very like childish kind of thing, like you want to like pinch someone's cheeks because they're so cute. And it's like, it's almost like I only know that you're real. Like I feel like it's either them talking to each other and them kind of reconnecting in the world, or it could be connecting with like insomnia. Like that could be like the only thing that I can kind of rely on is like them and their fans. It could also be from the perspective of like the curse itself. There's kind of some ominous vibes of like whether or not some of the members have been, I don't know, like recruited to the side of the curse, have been kind of possessed by the curse. We've had some, one of the lyrics was talking about being possessed, so maybe that's part of it, is like the members kind of being turned against each other. I don't know yet. I'm trying to take it all in, and it's a lot for me. That's really cute. Handang man. I love that wrist move too. Oh my god, Nani! Jesus. Why are they all coming for me in this video? Yeah, I don't think any of them have let me just breathe. But we had like fingertips again, that imagery of like just barely being able to touch something. Also, like the whole like wrist thing. Didn't we have a move like that where someone said it was like the image of like chains or being restrained or something? I feel like that a similar move came up at one point in one of their songs. Somebody can let me know down in the comments, because I'm having like a vague memory. And isn't one of the members like the nightmare that they represent is like being restrained? Is it Sua? Is Sua the one where like her nightmare is being trapped? We had her like in the forest and it was like wrapping around her, maybe? But just like interesting to have like the wrists. It kind of has this vibe of like almost like an eerie lullaby. Like, you know how if you ever actually listen to the lyrics of a lullaby, they're kind of disturbing and you're like, why is this a song for children? Because like lullabies and nursery rhymes and stuff kind of have this dark, you know, like Brothers Grimm feeling to them. And it kind of has a similar vibe to the song of like, there's all of these little sinister things mixed in with these kind of childish images like the blue dress and the yellow hair and like white rabbits and cats and like pinching your cheeks and stuff, like all of these things that feel very whimsical and childish. And then there's like this dark, sinister presence to all of it, like again, that lurking in the darkness. And there's lots of things of like being alone, and yet they're talking about being together and like someone being there. So it has this feeling of like, even though you should be alone, there's kind of this presence, this entity that's kind of lurking around you, so you're not really alone. It's such an interesting song though. Like it has minimal production, but it just fits with like the vibe that they're going for of like this slow, dark, creeping kind of feeling to the whole song sonically. And I love how they're keeping their vocals very light, or again, kind of having that like drawn out, kind of lazy sounding vocal, where it is kind of supposed to lull you into like this false sense of security, you know, because it's like, oh, if they're so languid, then they can't be that dangerous. But then they have these moments where they get very staccato with the notes, which feels a little bit more, has like a little bit more forward momentum to it, but it has almost this like, again, creeping kind of motion to it, which is really cool. Like, I'm gonna have to listen to this song so many times to like fully wrap my head around all of the things, because I feel like even though it feels minimal on the surface, everything's intentional. Like the things that are included are there on purpose, and I'm just like, I can't take it all in at once, which makes me sad. The strings too. I don't need her to look at me like that, or her to look at me like that. That hand detail. I was gonna say, I love having Jiu's voice there, because I think her voice especially has this kind of whimsical, almost on like the more like cutesy side of her like vocal tone, and I feel like a lot of the time they kind of fit it into those like lighter, softer, more vulnerable moments, because there's kind of like this innocence to the way that her voice sounds, and it's like natural tone. But here I think it fits so well, because again, it's fitting into that eeriness of like this juxtaposition of that kind of childish, whimsical sound, but then like the darker, you know, sinister feeling to the whole song, that like having that more like innocent sounding voice of like, you know, like don't let go of my hand, which sounds very like you know, like a kid like scared in the dark being like, hold my hand, or you know, like a kid gets scared and they want someone to hold their hand to kind of help them feel protected, right? But in this one, it feels like you should not take their hand. Like it feels like there's this sinister feeling to whoever's saying that. So having Jiu be the one to say that, I feel like fits into that juxtaposition that we're getting. And also the fact that it's Jiu, because in the storyline we have kind of some, I don't know, I've been talking to people in comments of like whether or not there are two Jius, because we've seen multiple of them, and one of them seems like probably the one who's actually trying to save the members, and the other one seems more like they've been kind of possessed by the curse. Like we had one of them, I think they're playing the piano, one of the Jius was like playing piano, and the other one like walked in and saw her and then went to like run away, and the next time we saw Jiu was like locking the gates to the manor that they were in. So there's kind of this feeling of like, is Jiu like, which one are we dealing with, and is it just like switching between that the state of like who she actually is, and then that kind of like possession, and like is she actually a good person that we can trust in the storyline? So I also like that it's her singing that for that part too, of like, is this leader Jiu that's going to like help us get through this dream and get through the nightmare and, you know, help get us out, or is this the one that's going to lock us inside and not let us out? Which one are we dealing with? I love the hand choreo though. like a heartbeat. Ooh. She didn't need to go off on that vocal so much, but I love it. A little vocal run too. Ma'am. Oh, back to the beginning, which is interesting, like a loop again. Like we had a similar thing in the What MV of it feeling like we were kind of looping back. So it's like almost getting stuck in like these loops and trying to like figure out a way to like actually get out. Love the like hand choreo where it's almost like a heart pumping. Again, kind of macabre with that imagery. So many things of this where I'm just like, that's a really interesting choice for the whole song. Like even like the hush, like them like covering their mouths and like saying hush over again. Like I don't know if it's kind of like a lullaby of like hush-a-bye kind of feeling, or if it's we need to be quiet or they'll find us, or if it's almost like not being able to speak. Right? Like it's even though they want to say all these things and they want to have this control over the situation, it's like they're being possessed and they don't have control and they can't speak the things that they want to speak. So many interesting things. Like I'm gonna have to listen to the song so many more times. I'm gonna have to like listen to it like with lyrics and like fully pull apart all of the things because I feel like there's so much there. The bass. The synths, the like little strings, the like clock sounds, like it's so interesting and it's so different from what I would have expected, and also from like a lot of other songs that I've heard. Especially like I feel like with Dreamcatcher, they tend to have very cinematic, like orchestral feeling songs. Like they have big sounding songs because that just kind of fits with like the vibe of the group. This song is like so minimal and has such an impact at the same time. Like it's captivating. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with the song, but we have to move on and I'll have to come back to it at another point. Okay, I had to take my cardigan off because the last song got me a little bit too worked up. So it's too hot for me to have a cardigan on. This one makes me nervous, okay? The other songs make me nervous because they've been talked about and they've been hyped up. Trap seems far more ominous. Like, are we trapping the curse? Is the curse trapping us? Who is being trapped? Who is setting the trap? What is happening? This is a lot slower than I was expecting. We could wind up though. I say right before it happens. Cool. I love fret slide. Ooh. Her voice. I'm sorry, Yehyun's voice there? Even though, okay, so we had the one lyric that was like pretending to not know me. I think they were getting more into that kind of like possession feeling of like having someone be possessed. And I know I talked about Jio in like the last part, but we also have Yehyun, right? Who also feels like she's being kind of possessed by the curse as she gets pulled more and more into it. So it's like the feeling of seeing someone, you know, seeing the other members and they should recognize each other and be friends and that kind of thing, but instead there's this other entity, right? Like we said, like behind the fog, right? So it feels like there's kind of like this veil between like who they really are and then the external person that they're portraying. But Yehyun's voice there, gorgeous. Okay. Oh, I love that. It's like all of these things of like indifference, like infecting and like running away and like having this fog and like hiding. Like we had like the cowardly pretending that you don't know me is like this feeling of it almost feels like giving in to the possession or like giving in to, you know, the Wonderland, right, that we had in the previous song, like giving up trying to fight and get out of that Wonderland or this dream, this nightmare, because it's easier not to. It's easier to not have to face your nightmares, your fears, and it's so much easier to just let go and let someone else have control. This very much feels almost like them kind of like calling to each other. We're kind of like switching rapidly between the members. So it does feel very much of like almost like calling it out and being like, you can't do this, like you can't walk away, you can't turn your back, like you have to fight through this. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting so far of them trying to help each other out, like trying to call to each other. Oh, that drop. Ooh, was that like, it's such an interesting kind of like chorus, like the drop, and then it has like this shortened feeling to it. I don't know if we're gonna get like a longer version or if like part of the build up to that is like the chorus. I'll have to wait and see with the structure of the song. But interesting, like it being like unavoidable and you kind of like need to go through, right? Again, like needing to face the nightmare, right? Like you can't run away from it. You can't hope it'll go away. You can't ignore it. Like we've had them try all these different things of like, how do I deal with this nightmare? And we started with kind of infatuation with it, right? Where there was this kind of being lulled in to it and this fascination to the nightmare itself. And then realizing that maybe it wasn't as good as it seemed, and then kind of being pulled in and trapped, and then trying to escape, trying to call out to each other, trying to break through it. All of these tactics that they've tried to get past these fears, past these nightmares, and it's not working. And the only way to like actually deal with your fears is to face it, right? Like you have to go through the trap. You can't avoid it. You can't pretend that it's not there. You have to move forward through it. And that's the only way to actually deal with it, which I think is like a really interesting concept. Like I was thinking of like someone getting trapped and it being this awful thing of like, oh no, or like is someone else getting trapped in the nightmare, is it someone getting trapped like deeper into it. But it does feel more like you're gonna have to just go through it. That's the only way to actually get to the other side, right? Like you can't go around it, can't turn away from it and expect to magically end up on the other side. You have to go through. The drop there though. Oh, I hope there's choreo.
피할 수 없는 shit 찢기고 베여도 망쳐나 다시 Oh 왜 Oh 넌 조용히 희망같이 밟아 네가 난 미워.
Oh, the distortion there again on the voice. I love that back and forth between Dami and Handong. Like Handong's voice sounds so good there, like her kind of softer tone against Dami's like rap tone. So good. I love that combo.
희망같이 밟아 네가 난 미워. 짧은 순간 상처를 만들어 무관심은 또 떠나게 해. 전부들 돌려 떠나갔어도 이 순간을 달아나지 마. 내 조연의 trap. 수 없는 trap. 내 조연의 trap. 보이지 않나 한치 앞도.
Oh, okay, that's really interesting. Like the added part to the chorus of like not being able to see even an inch in front of me. Again, we had like the fog before, having kind of like this barrier between you and someone and like the outside world. Also the like maze that's still unknown. We've had a few different times where they've talked about being in a maze. So even though they've been wandering in this maze for a while, they don't actually know it because they're in kind of this dreamy state. Where they weren't really like seeing it for this like obstacle that they have to get through. So interesting. Like this whole progression of them kind of like realizing the dream is there and fighting through it. It's just really cool to me because I love how we've shifted so much from the beginning where it was very much this romanticizing of nightmare, right? When you think of like the first part of the nightmare storyline, it was very much like wanting to be lulled into it, like staying in dream, and it had this feeling of being almost comforting to escape into the nightmare because it was new, it was interesting, it had this, you know, the allure that things that kind of frighten us have because it's fun for a little while, right? Like if you're watching a scary movie, that can be fun. If you're going through like a haunted house attraction, that's fun because it's just within the confines of like pretend, but the nightmare has become like too real to them. So it's actually pulling on like legitimate fears that they have. And because of that, they're trying to just get out. And there was kind of like the panic that's set in of like, I just want to get out and I should be able to just leave because it's not fun anymore. And then them realize that they're trapped, and there was kind of a like accepting it, right? There was kind of like this feeling of giving up and staying because they can't get out. They got themselves into this mess and they can't get out. And then now this idea of, okay, how do I actually get out, and like facing those fears and like really deconstructing the whole concept. And I think that's what gets me so much is like they're completely pulling apart the concept of being nightmares and having this nightmare imagery that like I think at the beginning came off more as like here's like a very strong aesthetic and a very strong storytelling tactic, and it's very like gothic fiction, which are all things that I love, and then they've just progressively started to pull apart more and more and more of that, and it's become something so much more complex, and I love that so much. Like it's such a cool thing that they've like pulled off with this whole concept. And this whole chorus, like the production is so cool, like all the synths, and it's very, I don't know, it has like a almost like an EDM like clubbing kind of feeling to it, which again bringing in kind of those more futuristic sounds into the production itself, which is very much pulling us forward in time, which I think is also really cool for the whole breaking out of a dream, right? Because it's kind of like the fantasy land of like the past and like theatrical orchestral music and like this like old estate that they're in the kind of older clothing style that they had, and then shifting into something that's far more the modern day, which is like them getting closer and closer to reality. Beautiful. Xion in the back, and I also love the idea of like, I don't know, it's almost like grabbing hands again, that imagery, but it has like a very different feeling from Wonderland, where like Wonderland felt a little bit sinister, whereas with this one it feels more like I just need someone to like reach out to me, right? And this whole song feels like the members kind of talking to each other, of trying to kind of get them out of the nightmare or like have them face their fears and that kind of thing. And it's like, okay, like it's kind of like what I said in Wonderland of like when you're scared, you know, like when a kid is scared, it's like hold my hand like so I can get through this thing that I'm scared of. But it doesn't have to be just when you're a kid. Like I feel like we've all had moments where like something's happened that scares us or overwhelms us, and we just need somebody to kind of like reach out a hand to us. So it's like, okay, it's like this moment, this turning moment of like, I think I can actually face this fear and face the nightmare, but it would be really nice if I had someone to hold my hand through it, right? Like if I didn't have to do it alone, if we could be together after kind of this feeling of fracturing in the previous songs, where it felt a lot more like the members kind of being turned against each other or being unsure of each other, who they could trust. And this song feels far more like them trying to reunite with each other and be like a whole force together. Vocals in the back. That was beautiful at the end. Oh, I love how we went back to the guitar. I feel like having the guitar and it has a little bit of like reverb on it, it feels a lot more like melancholy, but it also feels a little bit more quiet and isolated because you have like very minimal production in comparison to the rest of the song. So it kind of fits with the feeling I had before of like them kind of coming together. But at the end, even if you have like a bunch of people kind of rallying behind you and supporting you and being there as support, you still have to deal with the fear yourself. Like it's your fear and you have to face it on your own, even though you could have people who are there for support, to hold your hand, to be encouraging. The actual fight between you and the thing that you fear is something you have to do in isolation on your own. Really cool song, really cool concept to put into the song. Especially after everything that they've done so far in the storyline. I really want to see, like, if there's choreo, I want to see a live performance, mostly because I think that it would look really cool with choreo, but I'm kind of sad that there isn't an MV for this, because I would love to see the kind of story that they would put together for this, with, like, the kind of visuals I can, like, picture in my head, the storytelling of how you could put together a really cool music video for this, and I'm sad that there isn't one. Okay, last song, which is good because my voice is getting tired. I've talked too much. I got too excited about this whole album. I knew that people said that they were really looking forward to this one because it has some of their favorite songs, and I totally get that. Like, I'm gonna be obsessed with this album. I'm just gonna like keep listening to the songs, but we have one more. What is July 7th? That's my question. I feel like maybe, no, I don't think anyone ever filled me in, unless I'm forgetting, in which case I apologize. But I don't know what the significance of the date is. I might get some context clues in the actual song. I don't know what this is going to be. Is it going to make me cry? Is it going to make me bop? Is it going to make me bop but also be kind of sad because of the lyrics? I don't know. I never know what the last song of these albums. Okay. Okay, not the sound I was expecting.
오늘 밤에 눈 감으면 못 보게 될지도 몰라 연하수 넘어 저 먼 곳에 난 돌아가야겠지 And I missed you so much 나를 바라보는 너의 눈빛이 점점 아프게 느껴져 점점 슬프게 느껴져
What is this song? What is, like, the instruments? Was it like a xylophone, like the wooden ones? I don't know if that's like the proper instrument they're using there, but it definitely sounds like a wood kind of like percussion sound. The like whistle, the fun vocal melodies, the vocal slide that Handong did there. Why is, okay, this is gonna make me bop but also be kind of sad because of the lyrics, isn't it? I like the kind of like beats though, because again it feels like this, like the ticking that we had before, kind of like the chiming of the clock, but then we've also had imagery of like heartbeats, so there's kind of like this constant like rhythm throughout the whole thing that's just like really cool. Like that's just like an interesting part of the production to carry through all of these songs, but it's being done with a different instrument and then used in a different way for each of them. It's like this through line through the whole thing that just like connects everything together. And I love percussion anyway, so like give me any kind of like beat pattern that's like consistent throughout a whole work and I'll be happy. But it's cool to have like kind of like literally like this constant heartbeat throughout the whole album. This also feels whimsical.
And I missed you so much 나를 바라보는 너의 눈빛이 점점 아프게 느껴져 점점 슬프게 느껴져 저 하늘 위에 맺힌 수많은 별을 마치 마치 한 통의 편지 모두 다 사라져 가고 있어 그러니 어서 날 안아줘 I feel so far away 우리 시간이 갈수록 우리 이렇게 빨리 헤어져야 하는 걸까
Like the vocal melody there too, like they're adding these little vibrato, these really like, I don't know, just like fun little vocal moments in it is great. The whole thing though of like, it's like sad, like the separation between them. It's like wanting to go to this faraway place, like in the stars almost, which we've had lots of imagery before of them saying, oh, look up at the stars, and they'll be like, the stars are like light in the darkness, but it's like kind of wanting to run away into them and like meet those stars as opposed to just like seeing them from a distance, which I mean, I could be kind of like them talking about fans, right? Because I feel like that's kind of the imagery of like Dreamcatcher will be stars for Insomnia and Insomnia will be stars for Dreamcatcher, like that light in the darkness. We have them all isolated though, like they're not together, which makes me worried that it might also be talking about each other, of like them having to separate and then come back together. But just like it has this very like whimsical feeling to the whole song, like it's upbeat in a way, like it is not upbeat in like a poppy kind of feeling. It's like, I don't know, it has like this fun like vocal melodies to it, fun production choices. It definitely has like a lighter feeling as opposed to some of the other songs. It's almost like putting on like a false facade of happiness. Does that make sense? Like, you know, like when you're with people and it's like, you know that you're gonna have to separate, you're gonna know that you're gonna have to say goodbye, but you're trying to have like one last fun outing with each other before you have to say goodbye, so you kind of have this front of having fun and being happy, and you might actually be having fun and be happy, but there's this undercurrent of knowing that the sadness is coming. That's what it feels like.
사라져 가고 있어 그러니 어서 날 안아줘 I feel so far away 우리 시간이 갈수록 우리 이렇게 빨리 헤어져야 하는 걸까 참 쉽진 않겠지만 꼭 약속해 I will let you
Look at her face though.
또다시 오늘이 오면 네 곁에 있어줘 say
Oh. Their little faces though, where I'm just like, I will hug you. You've asked. I will give hugs to everyone. You only have to ask. Yeah, like it has this feeling of like knowing that you're gonna have to say goodbye but not wanting to. And trying to hold on for as long as you can. Let me know what is July 7th though? Like what is the significance of that date given the context of the song? Because I feel like it has to be something. It feels like it has to be like a holiday or something, like something that is symbolic of letting go or saying goodbye in some way. I don't know what that would be because I'm assuming it's possibly Korean. I don't know though.
I will let you go
I feel bad to bop to this.
오늘이 오면 네 곁에 있어줘 say 멀리 멀리 멀어져 가는 나의 실루엣
See, that's such a fun melody.
네 곁에 있어줘 say 멀리 멀리 멀어져 가는 나의 실루엣 생각만 해도 하루는 길어지고 마음은 깊어만 가
How breathy her voice was there. This whole album, I'm just like trying to wrap my head around it sonically. Like it's so different from things that I've heard from them before that like my brain cannot compute properly. And like again, it's like what I said at the beginning, where like it feels like this is a turning point in the whole storyline of like them really doing the shift, and like all these songs feel so different from what I've heard previously in the Nightmare stories and the albums, that it very much feels like they're like, okay, we've done that, we're gonna do a new thing now. And it's gonna be like a progression of it, but because it's like this shift, it feels a little bit like intentionally jarring, because I feel like it is them like, oh, we're in the nightmare, and like they're aware of where they are, and because of that kind of like awakening moment, even though they're still trapped in the dream, everything looks different, everything feels different, everything that seemed like normal, mundane, has like a different lens on it now. So I just love how that's being pulled through it sonically, but like such a fun melody that Gahyun's part had there, and then how light Sua's voice was, gorgeous. Like she had so much breathiness to her voice there, which is Like considering how much like closure and power she usually has behind her voice, gorgeous that she was able to lighten up that much.
또다시 오늘이 오면 네 곁에 있어줘 say 멀리 멀리 멀어져 가는 나의 실루엣 생각만 해도 하루는 길어지고 마음은 깊어
Almost a whisper.
저 하늘 위에 맺힌 수많은 별을 마치 한 통의 편지 모든 빛을 잃어 가까워 있어 그러니 어서 날 안아줘 I feel so far away 우리 시간이 갈수록 우리 이렇게 빨리 헤어져야 하는 걸까 참 쉽진 않겠지만 꼭 약속해 I will let you go 또다시 오늘이 오면 네 곁에 있어줘 stay no
It's so staccato, which is so like in the production. I keep saying percussion. Production. Like it has this feeling of like kind of like walking. Like it has this kind of like walking melody to it. But like so it has like this bounce to the whole thing. It feels very much like kind of like an outing, like a day outing with someone, but like there's all this kind of sadness buried underneath of it, and because you have like the staccato feeling to the actual production, like the whole point of like say like staccato is like it is very like separated, right? So you have all of these parts that are very isolated from each other, and because of that there's like the space between things and separation, which is very much fitting with the theme of the song, whereas like other parts of their production kind of slide all together, especially like the piano keys, like they're kind of hitting the piano keys very in this very staccato pattern, whereas usually piano kind of flows all together, and it's so interesting. I'm gonna have to listen to this album so many times because I'm just gonna want to pull apart so much more from it.
I will let you go 또다시 오늘이 오면 네 곁에 있어줘 stay 너와 함께 할수록 난 더 불안해져 약속해 돌아온다고 수많은 별을 헤며
Oh,
비가
beautiful.
되어 눈가에 흐르는
Oh, that lyric. I know I'm interrupting her, but like that lyric of like the like rain flowing from her eyes, like tears.
수많은 별을 헤며 비가 되어 눈가에 흐르네 매일 이 자리에서
Oh, that whole melody part. I love the lyrics. I love her voice. I love the melody choice. What is this album? At this point, I'm mad about it. Like, to begin with, I was like, oh, we're doing some cool, interesting new things. It's a fun, like, new little puzzle for my brain to, like, pull apart all the stuff. Now I'm mad because I'm like, how dare you do so many interesting new things all in one album with only 4 songs and an intro? How dare you? You gotta let my brain, like, have some breathing room. I also love it, though.
약속해 돌아온다고 수많은 별을 헤며 비가 되어 눈가에 흐르네 매일 이 자리에서 I feel so far away 우리 시간이 갈수록 우리 멀어져 가는 널 바라보고만 있어
No. Ugh. Okay. Xian's part though. Her part, beautiful, like I was saying before. And then they go to Handong, chills. And then they go to Yuhyun, more chills. What is this song? What are they doing to me? What's happening? It's so like there's this sadness to it and this like wanting to reunite, which I feel like is kind of fitting with the story I was talking before about like it feeling like the members are starting to kind of come back together or trying to come back together and reunite. So it kind of fits with that story too of like you promised you'd come back, like you promised that you'd hold my hand, that we would be together, that the nightmare was going to be something that we faced as a collective. So it fits with that. The vocals. they didn't need to come for me like that. Especially putting Handong in that part, like pulling away a bunch of the production, putting in the lighter piano keys, and having Handong sing. How dare you? How dare you? Like, that's too much. It's too much for me. Okay, I gotta calm down. I'm gonna take a drink. I'm gonna try and calm down. I'm gonna try to breathe because it's been too much back to back. Okay, I need a minute. Like, my voice hurts. I'm too excited. Oh, okay. Do it again.
수많은 별을 헤면 비가 되어 눈가에 흐르네 매일 이 자리에서 I feel so far away 우리 시간이 갈수록 우리 멀어져 가는 널 바라보고만 있어 참 쉽진 않겠지만 꼭 약속해 I won't let you go 또다시 오늘이 오면 내 곁에 있어줘 stay
Really interesting that at the end there, Gio closes her eyes. Because, you know, we've had this whole thing of like nightmares, dreams, kind of like waking up in a dream. Like we've had in the MVs and stuff, like people like closing their eyes and they wake up in like a different level, a different part of the dream and not really waking up. Oh, didn't we have in What as well at the beginning of the MV? Isn't it Gio who's like she's like asleep on like the ground and then she wakes up? Is it a loop again? Like, is the whole album a loop? Because I was talking before about how What was a loop and then Wonderland was also a loop with like the choreo where they were all like sat in the same positions again and they closed their eyes. Is the whole album a loop? What is this album? What is it? How do I go on with the rest of my day not thinking about this album the whole time? I should have done this later in the day. I should have like done some other stuff and then done this because this is going to be my whole brain for a while. I don't know what to do with myself now. Honestly, I just want to listen to the album again. And like, it is very rare that I get to an album and I instantly want to go back to the beginning and listen to the whole thing again. Because I feel like most of the time when I get to the end of an album, I feel like I have to go through like a mourning period. I'm dealing with the fact that like the album is over and I'll never get to hear it for the first time again. And I just kind of need to sit with my thoughts and my feelings at the end. But this album, I just want to go back. I want to listen to the whole thing, like all of the songs with MV and special clips, and I just want to take it all in again because it's like a thought puzzle that I just like I want to figure out all the things for, and I just don't have enough info yet. It's even to the point where like I might even go back through some of their previous albums and be like, what were we even talking about leading up to this point? Because I have so many thoughts, but none of them are like coming together into like a coherent thought, that like a whole opinion that I can actually have on what I just went through. So I feel like I'm just gonna talk in circles, which kind of fits with the whole looping thing that we have going on, but I feel like I'm not gonna be able to give like a full articulation of what I'm actually feeling right now. So I'm gonna have to leave it here. Please leave me comments about all of the songs, okay? All of them, about Wonderland, about the whole album, about the storyline, all of the things. I want to talk about this because by the time this goes up on the actual channel, I'm going to have listened to this album about 100 times and I'm going to have so many more coherent, put together things to say, and I'm going to want somebody to talk to them about. So please leave me all of your comments about what is going on with this album because I'm already obsessed, but I hope you enjoyed listening to that along with me. You can click this playlist and go see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so you know next time I post a Dreamcatcher reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye!